This was me at the end of my last off season, and this is me now, a whole year later. And what's probably going to surprise you is that I'm actually eating more food now than I was back then, but I'm now considerably leaner. So how has this happened? Well, recently there's been a lot of people saying that bulking is completely dead. And if you go about it the way that I did last year, then I would agree with that statement. But since then, I've changed a few things about the way that I structure my gaining phases, and I can see that it has made a huge difference. So in this video, I'm going to go over what I've changed and how you can structure your gaining phases so that you can maintain a leaner physique while still maximizing your progress. But why would you even want to bulk in the first place? Well, the reason that many people now say that bulking is unnecessary is because simply eating more food isn't a stimulus for muscle growth. If all you did was increase your calories, then all else being equal, you would simply just gain more body fat. So let me make that clear. A calorie surplus does not directly build muscle, but having more food available gives you more energy, which will enable you to train harder, maintain a higher level of performance within your workouts, and therefore allow you to create a larger training stimulus. So remember, just because the food isn't directly building muscle, it is allowing you to produce a level of performance that will. Now, I think it's important to point out that there are a few things that have stayed exactly the same from last off season to this one. The first thing is my training. I always train with maximum effort, close to failure, with a large focus on progression over time. So the improvements that I've seen this year are definitely not because I've just suddenly decided to start training harder. And the second thing that stayed the same is my general activity. Throughout both of my off seasons, I've made sure that I stay active throughout the day by keeping my step count high. In particular, I would highly recommend that you walk after each meal for at least 5 to 10 minutes due to the benefits that it has for your digestion and helping to manage blood sugar. So as I've already mentioned, I'm actually eating more food during this off season than I did in my last one, but the biggest difference has been from where those calories are coming from. Last year, as my calorie intake increased, I would gradually start adding more fat into my diet, because at this point my carb intake was already relatively high. So I thought that adding more fat would be an easier way of increasing calories without adding more volume to my meals. But looking back, this definitely wasn't the best approach for me, because I could see at this point that body fat started to accumulate faster. So this year, I set my fat intake at the start of the off season and I've just left it there. And then whenever I've needed more calories, I've only increased carbs. And this has had two benefits. It has allowed me to stay leaner throughout this growth phase, whilst also providing the maximum amount of fuel to support my training. And the second change that I've made is doing regular cardio throughout my entire off season. At the moment, I'm doing some form of cardio on a daily basis, either on the bike, rowing machine or ski erg, and as a result, my cardiovascular fitness has improved so much. During my training, I feel that I'm able to maintain a much higher output across my entire session. If you're going to include cardio in your own routine, then I always recommend you see it as a way of improving your fitness. If you're aiming for fat loss, then remember that cardio will have a minimal impact compared to tracking your food and focusing on your diet. So if you're planning to start your own gaining phase, the first thing you need to decide is whether you're actually in a good position to begin one. And a big part of that comes down to your current level of body fat. If it is already higher than you would like it to be, then you should spend some time dieting until you reach a leaner body composition. Because losing some of that excess fat can improve your insulin sensitivity and give you a much better starting point. Now, regardless of which phase you're in, training needs to be your main priority. You need to push yourself hard and focus on progression to actually provide a sufficient stimulus for muscle growth. Secondly, ensure that you maintain a reasonable step count to keep your digestion and appetite in a good place throughout this phase. When it comes to your diet, set your fat intake at an appropriate level and keep it relatively consistent. Then whenever you need to adjust your calories, I would prioritize carbohydrates, in particular placing more of them in your pre, intra and post-workout meals. If your cardiovascular fitness needs some attention, then you should also include regular cardio in your routine. You could begin with 2 or 3 sessions per week and build from there if you have the time and it doesn't interfere with your training. Then once you've got all of those in place, a supplement that I like to use is a high quality glucose disposal agent, which I use alongside my meals to support glucose metabolism and facilitate carbohydrates being stored as muscle glycogen. So if you want to be able to eat more food while staying leaner and building muscle during a gaining phase, then this could definitely be a good approach for you to try.